Hey guys, Got Level here, and today we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of your Logitech C920. Okay, three things. One, I already made a video about the specs of this camera and why it's so popular, why it's recommended as a camera, like why is everyone talking about it, what's so great about it basically. Go watch that video right now if you want to learn about the specs, if you want me to compare it to the C922 and other cameras and talk about the price and all of that, okay? Two, from that other video, I've gotten people saying that they bought the Canon T2i because I briefly mentioned it in that video. Please, if I don't explicitly say you need that specific camera, or I don't give you any details about the whole setup for the camera, you know, ask questions, join my Discord, talk about it. Don't just buy something just because you heard me briefly mention it, or just because you see it and you're like, oh, if I just buy the camera, my stream is gonna look exactly like that. You don't know what lens I'm using. You don't know how I'm capturing it. There's a lot of things that are not great about the Canon T2i. So people buying the Canon T2i just because that's what I'm using, it's not a great thing. You don't know if for the same price you can get a way better camera. When I made that setup, I basically already had the camera. That's why I'm using the Canon T2i. But if I didn't have a camera and I was to buy one, I would definitely buy another one. So please be careful. If you are still interested in my camera setup, basically I'm gonna have another video up there on how I did it all. But that is in no means a direct recommendation. Number three, I actually spent 3 hours recording this very video that you're watching right now, except I messed up. I forgot to switch my OBS profile, so now I have to do it all again. But good news is I'm full of coffee, and since I'm a little not happy about the fact that I messed it up, it's gonna be faster, and I'm gonna be going through all the steps faster, right? Because I know how it ends, right? Okay, Logitech C920 specs are 1080p, 30 FPS, and that's what we want. Okay, what else do we want as live streamers, as content creators who are using this webcam? We want manual exposure. We want manual white balance. We want manual focus. Those are our main concerns. What else do we want? We want to be able to save a certain preset because we know that our lighting is most likely not going to change. Our camera position is most likely not going to change. So we want our white balance, exposure, all of that. We want it to be consistent. We want it to be persistent. We want it to basically be saved every time we restart our computer, because apparently a lot of people are having issues with that. So there are 3 different setups to get all of those options, or some of those options, and I'm going to go through them really fast. Okay, now I can't really avoid this inception effect. We're gonna have to deal with it. So when you first get your Logitech C920, you plug it in, you install all the drivers, and what happens is that you can directly go into your OBS and just add it as a video capture device, right? So video capture device, you pick Logitech C920, and this is the actual quality that you get straight from the box. This is not 720p, this is not 1080p, and this is, yeah, so this is not good. This is about like 480p, and we don't want that, right? We want full 1080p, 30 FPS plus presets that we can save. Now, here's the good news. If you are doing this for like a one-time use, you can definitely use this. All you have to do to get 1080p is go to here where it says resolution FPS type, go to custom, and then under resolution, you're gonna pick 1080p, right? I'm gonna turn that off so you can still see. And for FPS, you just leave it at match output FPS, okay? Good. Now, you have a 1080p webcam, which is great. If you don't want auto anything and you don't want to even play around with anything, you're good to go. Technically, you can already use the webcam, but I don't advise it, all right? If you click up here where it says configure video, you will have the basic configurations. And technically, you can already set up everything right here. You can turn off autofocus, you can turn off auto exposure, white balance, play with the sharpness, the saturation, and everything. The problem here is that everything that you play around inside that little box is not going to be saved. As soon as you restart your computer, it will absolutely be reset. Okay, it's gonna go back to default and you're not gonna have your precious little preset. I found a way to kind of play around it, but it's not consistent and it's not worth taking the risk, right? Now, something I forgot to talk about, why do we need all of those things when we talk about manual exposure, manual white balance, and manual focus? Those are options to allow us to adapt easily. Autofocus, for example, if I want to show something close to the camera, it would focus on the camera. On my DSLR right now, it doesn't have autofocus, so this is out of focus, right? So if you are someone that usually does that and shows stuff to the camera, you want to keep autofocus on. Auto exposure will try to expose for whatever is in front of the camera. So if I were to show something white, let's say I want to show my notepad, I want you to read what's in there, or like that, it is not focusing. It is overexposed. Whereas the Logitech straight out of the box would try to expose and really focus on the thing. So if you're someone who's showing stuff that is super bright or whatever you want it to expose, you can keep auto exposure on. Auto white balance is very useful if you're streaming using sunlight and then it gets dark, right? So the camera will try to think that all of your lights are white. So when you're switching from that daylight, which is like more bluish, to that normal incandescent light bulb that is more yellowish, it will kind of try to stay consistent. But okay, now why would you not want those on? In my particular case, I don't want auto exposure, I don't want auto white balance, I don't even want autofocus. I do not want autofocus because it freaks out, and I don't want every time I move a little bit my focus to try to focus on the background or try to focus on me. And I do not trust the camera enough basically to always stay focused on me. Normally it either freaks out or it just focuses on the background and you are slightly blurred. So you're not using the maximum potential of your camera if you're focused on the background, right? Okay, auto white balance, I have changing colored lights and on my live streams, and my camera is struggling to keep everything looking white when I don't want it to look white. I want it to be very precise on the colors. So that's an issue. Auto white balance, I want to set the perfect white balance for my skin tone, and then whatever is showing in the background is fine. So I want manual white balance. What else? Auto exposure, same thing. I have my lights going on. I don't want my camera to try to play around with the exposure, bringing everything dark and everything bright. And if I want to show something bright, I don't want the camera, everything else going dark. It's kind of annoying, and it also gives that amateur feeling, like you were recording from a phone or an old SD camera. So those are the different situations where you would not want that. Anyways, okay, we're moving on. Second thing that I did was download a program. I went on the internet and I was like, Logitech webcam software, basically, because if I can't save the presets straight in OBS, there must be a software out there that can save presets. So I downloaded Logi Capture, and there's a lot of things that you need to know about Logi Capture. Most importantly, if you are using Logi Capture, you might want to uninstall it immediately. So first thing that you need to know is that if you already have your camera imported like that inside of OBS, Logi Capture will not detect it. So camera not available. I will have to delete the source in order for Logi Capture to take it over. With a couple seconds, boom, it's in there. Now, there's a lot of options, but here's why you need to not waste your time with Logi Capture. Now, there's a lot of things that are super wrong with Logi Capture. First of all, when it comes, like when you first install it, you have to click on the camera to actually turn off the Logitech logo. Logitech, why would you put a logo? I paid full price for the camera. This is not like a free version, or this is not like a trial version. Why would you put a watermark at all? Of course I want to delete your watermark. Anyways, and here under here, it's going to say resolution, and you're seeing 1080p, right? And you're thinking, okay, cool, 1080p. Turns out 1080p is not for your broadcasting software. It actually only outputs 720p. If I go in OBS right now and I go video capture device, it actually creates a virtual webcam, and I go Logi Capture. Look at that. That is 720p. Now you can put custom output, but it's still going to be 720p stretch pretty much. Okay. When they say 1080p here, it's actually for recording. So this software is meant to replace OBS, not to be used with a broadcasting software. It's meant to be your recording software. So if you're only doing YouTube and you don't have OBS, you don't live stream, then maybe that is good for you. But there's another issue. Although you can create your own presets, you know, which is great. There are already some custom presets. You know, you have custom recording, streaming. You do not have auto exposure. Like you don't have the possibility to turn off auto exposure. I don't know why. So if I show something white, get the rest of it. Look at me. Look at me. See, this is what I don't want, right? and then it's gonna adjust. I don't want that, and I can't do anything about that in Logic Capture, right? But the rest you can actually, depending on what preset you're on, you can actually move the sharpness, the exact same thing that we have. There's a little bit of stuff like chroma keying that you can do. There are some filters for some reason, you know. Oh my god, oh wow, cool filters, great. You can add a border. I don't know why you would want to add a border to your camera. I don't know what's the deal with people in borders nowadays, but like borders are not cool. It's not it's not a thing. So do not use Logic Capture. Why? Because fake 1080p for live streaming, watermark that comes with it, you can turn it off, but like the only, by principle, the fact that you have a watermark in there is kind of an insult. And of course, you don't have access to turn off auto exposure. Why should we use it? Like, I don't understand that. If you're gonna make like a software, make it, it's by Logitech, make it full, okay? And there's also the idea that Logic Capture needs to be on at all times while you're streaming if you want to use their virtual webcam. Let's remove this. Okay, here's the third thing I did that came in and saved everything. And I actually realized that Epos Vox, I never said that name out loud before. He made a video on it, okay? He's another YouTuber, like you probably know him. So I'll try to link to his video where he talks about it. It was like 2 years ago. So there's this thing called GHub, Logitech GHub. It's a huge software that's supposed, well, it's not huge, but it's a software that's supposed to control all of your Logitech devices. And if you have your C920 plugged in, you're gonna have that. And as you can see here, there's a profile, the persistent profile they call it, which is called desktop. And it's basically your preset. So if you modify anything in there, it is going to stay persistent. And GHub actually opens up with your Windows. So every time you restart your computer, you're gonna have the same preset on your camera. As you can see here, autofocus, I can turn it on, I can turn it off if I want to. Keep that off. Auto exposure, turn it on, turn it off. Video. This is where you have brightness, contrast, sharpness, white balance, saturation, and all that crazy stuff, okay? Now, what do you need to know that is kind of weird with this is the fact that, first of all, if I put this full screen, the preview stays small. Logitech, why? Also, please sponsor me, even though I'm saying a lot of bad things about I'm basically nitpicking everything wrong with Logitech software, but I'm full screen. Just show me my camera full screen. It's a 1080p webcam. Anyways, in order to access this, actually, you're gonna have presets within this preset. So the main preset, the main profile is desktop default. Now, when you come to camera here, at first, it's gonna be on something like default, streaming, or video call. You need to click add new camera mode, okay? And then it's gonna be new camera mode. It's basically your own profile for the camera mode, your own preset. Same thing to video. You're gonna have to go and put new video mode and then do your own stuff, right? And then you have to back out of it because the fact that it has a preset here means that you cannot import it to OBS just because it's showing in this right there, okay? If you want to click on C920 settings, make sure this is disabled. I'm not completely sure what it does, but apparently it didn't work when I had it enabled. I might be wrong about this. But anyways, back out and then go to your OBS, add it in, video capture device, and now you can pick your Logitech C920. But here's the kicker. It doesn't put your C920 resolution by default. It doesn't put it at 1080p by default. So you still have to go and do custom resolution here and then select 1080p. Okay. And now, so if I go back to my input, so I'm going to have the properties of my camera here in OBS, and then I'm going to have GHub on the side, right? So it's not showing me the preview, no biggie. So now what I can do is play around with this. This is the focus super close. Actually, the C920 has really good macro focus. Look at how close it can focus. I don't know why my exposure moved there, but whatever. I can turn it down, turn it back up. It's all good. So this is where you can play around with your contrast, blah, blah, blah. Let's bump up this so you can really see the effects. So right now, if I go back or even if I close this inside of OBS, this is good. So, and here I am, okay? And if you restart your computer and then just open up OBS, you're all set. So what I advise you to do, first time you get your C920, or if you already have it, so add your C920 to OBS, basically. Okay, you first bought your C920, you plug it in, it installs the drivers, add source, video capture device, Logitech C920. Custom resolution, 1080p. download and install Logitech GHub, click on your camera. Under camera, add a new camera mode. Under video, add new video mode. Play around with your settings, and then that's it. Your settings will technically stay forever. For your white balance, if you don't want it to move around all the time, because auto white balance basically messes up every time the camera turns on. So if you restart your computer and your white balance is all messed up, it's not necessarily because it didn't save your preset. It's just that when the camera turned on this time, it read one of the colors wrong and is trying to compensate and make the lights look white. Okay, so that's why I keep my white balance at a specific place, so I know my lights are not gonna change, right? And that's it. This is how you can get full 1080p 30 FPS with all your properties with the Logitech C920 and also save your presets. Okay, so when you restart your computer, your presets will still be there. Do not use Logic Capture. Do not touch the properties inside OBS strictly, except for the resolution, the custom resolution, 1080p. And then you'll be completely fine. The same thing applies to Streamlabs OBS, because I know someone's gonna ask, and any other broadcasting software, I believe. I haven't tried them all. So that's it. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Yeah, social media will be somewhere up there. If you guys want some dope overlays to get your streams looking good, go to gumroad.com/gallevel. A bunch of them are actually free, and the rest is super, super cheap. So please, consider it. Okay, there will be some links in the description, my Amazon links, my Gumroad link. There's a link for Streamlabs Prime if that's something you're interested in. And if you have any questions about live streaming and creating content in general, please join my Discord, link also in the description. We're like 500 streamers and content creators. I think we can really have some meaningful conversations in there. And if you have any questions, this is the best way to get your questions answered. Stop DMing me, get in my Discord, talk with 500 other streamers that can also answer your questions. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I will see you guys next time. Go out there, make me proud. GalLevel out.